I am mad. And not like grab a sculpting hammer and bash my head in with it mad, more like a why did I watch 6 hours of an otherwise phenomenal show to get this? Okay, I know I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but I think making this video will be a bit cathartic for me and hopefully you in understanding why I dislike this ending so much. And I think part of why I didn't like it had to do with how much better it could have been. The pieces had been perfectly laid out by creator David E. Kelley, yet they weren't utilized, making many of the setups, well, feel like they served no purpose. So in this video, I'm gonna do 2 things. First, start off with why I thought the ending was bad using examples from the show, and secondly, how I would have ended it, including who I thought the killer should have been, and how the show inadvertently set it up to be an amazing payoff that, well, never did pay off. If you just want to get to the alternate ending, I'll leave a timestamp in the description. But before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you ended up liking it, be sure to check out my other How It Should Have Ended videos. Now, I know the first thing a lot of you will be saying is, Think Story, the show is based off a book. You can't just change the ending. Well, I disagree for 2 reasons. One, if the book has a bad ending, then maybe don't adapt it in the first place. And second, adaptations are simply that, they adapt. Screen Rant has a great article on 15 movie adaptations completely different from their books, which I'll leave a link to in the description. You can change things, there's no law saying you have to be 100% faithful to the source material, and at the end of the day, I want whatever is gonna give me the best story. So in the actual ending, Jonathan ends up kidnapping his son after he feels he'll lose his murder trial, whereupon he contemplates suicide, culminating in a dramatic will he won't he as he hovers over the edge of a bridge. And the first thing I'll say right off the bat here is that this was way too rushed. This all happens in the last 10 minutes of a 6-hour miniseries, which for the most part has been a great slow burn. We basically go from measured courthouse drama to wild chase scene with John's car narrowly missing a huge truck in a matter of minutes. Tonally, it just seems out of place. It also seems out of place for Jonathan's character. Him turning completely unhinged would have been easier to understand if the show gave us more moments that hinted at this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde complex. I mean, we do get moments like him in the prison where he bites this dude's finger, but that's kind of at least warranted in that situation. I was also completely underwhelmed with the reveal of him being the killer. I felt that these 6 episodes were building up to a massive twist, and I was left deflated, dare I say empty, finding out it was him the whole time. We also don't really get any sort of catharsis to take this all in as Grace and Henry fly off in a private helicopter at the end. There's no real moment to decompress. And how did the police just let Grace run past them to a man who's on the edge of a bridge and who they themselves have deemed armed and dangerous? It just felt far-fetched in a show that otherwise had been relatively grounded. At the end of the day, I just found the man was crazy the whole time ending to be too easy, predictable, and emotionally empty. So what I want to do is offer an alternative, one that gets rid of the whole chase scene ending altogether and centers around a different killer. And if you've been paying close attention to the show, it has already given us tons of clues pointing at this person who would also have motivation to kill Elena. I'm referring to Grace's friend Sylvia Steinitz. As soon as Elena's murder is discovered in episode 1, it's Sylvia who is all over it. She seems to be the first to know everything, calling Grace to tell her what she knows, and already offering someone else as the prime suspect.
Evidently they were having problems. It's always the husband.
She also plays the role of the comforting best friend who's always by her side, even in the courtroom. But those points aren't the strongest. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes of it all. In episode 2, we learn that John hired Sylvia several months ago when he was going through his disciplinary meetings at the hospital.
He hired me a few months ago.
This establishes a connection between the two that was hidden from Grace, something Sylvia said she had to keep secret due to attorney-client privilege. So already there's something a little shady going on here. We also know from episode 4 that John had one other affair that's quickly brought up and never talked about again.
Were there any others? Other women you've been involved with during the course of your marriage? There was one.
What if this other woman was Sylvia? The two would have known each other for years through Grace. Plus, they had secret meetings regarding his case at the hospital, meetings which were kept from Grace. Once Sylvia saw John's love for Elena, the new girl, she would be the one to become obsessed, following John around as his affair with Elena deepened, ultimately murdering her in a fit of rage after she'd watched John leave her artist studio. Realizing that she's gone way too far, she'd obviously want to cover it up, making John the prime suspect.
If you do learn where Jonathan is, tell the police.
That murder weapon, the sculpting hammer Henry finds at the beach house, could have easily been placed there by Sylvia, who would know A, how to get there, and B, that Grace would be staying there. Sylvia is also a lawyer, so she'd know better than most on how to go about covering her tracks and making the right moves which would further implicate John in the murder. She also has a lot to lose, her own family and going to jail for the rest of her life. So the best course of action for her is to pin this on John. Another thread which had no significance to the actual ending but could be woven into this new ending is Sylvia's relationship with prosecuting attorney Catherine Stamper. They used to intern together for a bit when they first started off as lawyers, but this connection never really pays off in the show. She waves to her when entering the court, and there's another meaningless scene with them in the washroom. But if Sylvia actually killed Elena, Catherine would be a powerful ally to have when you're the actual murderer. So I guess this all comes down to how Sylvia would be caught, and I think the best way to do this would be through Haley Fitzgerald bringing Sylvia to the stand. Haley has said multiple times throughout the season that she'll be able to find anything out.
I will find out.
Hell, she was able to hack into all the jurors' Facebooks and manipulate the advertisements they were fed. What if she secretly knew something about Sylvia, couldn't 100% prove it, but had to use her wits to get a confession out of her while on the stand? We've already seen how Haley can amp up the pressure and elicit huge reactions from those she questions, like what happened to Fernando. I'd equate this scene to that famous one in A Few Good Men where Tom Cruise's character slowly applies pressure until Jack Nicholson snaps.
You can't handle the truth!
This could also be juxtaposed with flashbacks of Sylvia committing the murder, kind of like how we saw John commit it in the real version. It would also be a big reveal for Grace, John, and everyone else in the courtroom, leading me to believe it would be a more satisfying and rewarding ending than the haphazard chase scene we got. There's even room to see what would happen to these characters after the trial and allow us to decompress. All in all, this is just what I came up with in a little bit of time, so there are probably lots of better options and ways to go about ending the show. I even thought about covering the grandfather as the potential killer, as there are almost just as many hidden clues that point to him as well. But I want to hear what you thought of the ending. Am I completely wrong here, or would you have liked to have seen something different? Make sure to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and for more bad takes, you can always follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.